This is the new H&R 652 carbine. It's a clone of the Colt 652 that was around in the early and late 60s. This one I'll tell you already, changed out the fixed stock that would have come on it, M16A1 stock, with an Ace reproduction of the original aluminum Colt stocks. But if we get over here to the markings, I'll go ahead and show that off. We have H&R's logo and the property of U.S. government, M16A1. You know, it's set up exactly like they would have been for the military back then. And we've got Harrington and Richardson, and of course now it's West Columbia because it's owned by Palmetto State Armory, safe, semi, and auto selectors. And of course it doesn't go back to that one. But we'll take it inside here in a bit and go over from front to back, everything that's different on this than on your new production flat top M4 type clone. But overall, it's a very light rifle. And as you can see, it's completely slick. It does have a fence around the magazine. And it does, interestingly, have cuts for a forward assist. And this is something that is accurate because at the time, whenever Colt was transitioning between slick side to forward assist, especially on the civilian guns, they would just put whatever fit in there. And a lot of times they had more of these than they did the slick ones, especially later on. But let's go ahead inside and take a more in-depth look at this. Okay, so I've got set up right here my clone of a C7. It's not 100% accurate or anything, but it's a good representation. And then we've got the H&R 652 right here. So we'll start off at the front and then work our way back, and we'll see things that are different between this and then what you would see in a modern gun. So starting off at the top, we have the A1 birdcage. It's just like the A2, except these cuts go all the way around. And that was changed, of course, when the A2 came out in 83 or 5, something like that. Got a 1-in-7 twist barrel. That actually I don't think would be accurate because back then they were using 1-in-12, but there were problems with that. But you can order them with a 1-7 or 1-in-12, but it's pencil profile. Stays that thin all the way back to about here. Then we move back. It's got just a standard front sight post. But one difference is, on this one you have 5 notches of adjustment, where on the modern ones I think it's only 4. I'm not sure why that changed, but it was changed. And then this one is a round post instead of a square one like you'd see on today's carbines. You move back here, skinny, and this one has 7-hole handguards. I actually spray painted these. They would just be matte like the grip here, but I spray painted them to be more accurate to what you would see on the Colt commercial ones. Move back here, instead of a delta ring like on a normal one where it cones out, you've just got straight walls here, and it makes it pretty annoying, but that is correct. And then they changed that, of course. I think they might have even changed it on the A1, but definitely by the A2 it was changed. We move back even further. Of course, you got your carry handle, A1 carry handle that everyone loves now. And we've got just a standard nitrite bolt with the cuts, like I said. And then right here on the dust covers, there's actually a change. Right here, if you zoom in, you see this is a round part where the detent is built into. That's A2s and beyond were like that. And then on this A1 right here, it's actually kind of a trapezoidal shape or a rhombus, whatever you call it. And that was just changed, I think, to work with the bolt cutout a little more, you know, because you can already see I'm getting wear on here, and it's a new rifle. If we work back a little further, see it's completely slick side, which is different than today's modern ones where we have a brass deflector and then a forward assist. There's plenty of videos on the forward assist and plenty of opinions about it. Some people love it, some people hate it. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't think I've ever needed to use one at all, but it wasn't there on these early rifles. And then the brass deflector was added when the A2 came out for left-handed people to be able to shoot this. If you're left-handed, if you don't mind getting hit pretty regularly, you can shoot it, but you're pretty much guaranteed to get a couple of pieces of brass in your eyes and down your shirt and everything, and it's not exactly comfortable. If we put these back up, We can see it's still the same full fencing. If we were cloning a couple earlier than this, a couple years earlier, there would have been just a partial. There would have been that right there for the detent, and then there wouldn't have been this down and over, and then they moved to this after. But the Colt Civilian one stayed completely slab-sided up till I think the 80s. If we move back even further, right here is a difference between the A1 and the A2. On the A2s and everything we know of, this little piece is reinforced. If I flip this over, I'll get a better view of that. So you can see from the back takedown pin, all this is one big piece that's been machined up. Whereas on here, on the originals, this was actually a cut out piece. That was a pretty big failure point. As you can imagine, you know, it gets pretty thin up here. So out in the field, people would have those breaking on them, so they changed them. Other than that, well, we've got the A1 grip, of course, and I don't have an A2 grip to compare it to, but they just changed. They put a little place right here for your fingers, and then I think it's just a little different geometrically, but the main difference is just that finger groove. And what else do we need to go over? Well, I'll show this, but on the 652 that comes, this is just a fixed stock. That's actually the stock right there, so I'll show it off. I put it on here. It's A1 length. I think it's an 1/8 or 1/4 inch shorter than an A2, and it's okay. But the big thing is that butt plate, there's no trap door. On the originals, this would have been a hard rubber. On this one, it's just plastic, I guess, for cost and longevity of it. But that's all you get. So that's what did come on this, but I wanted to make it more of a carbine. So on this one, we put an ace stock, and it came with the buffer tube, and then this is just like a normal car stock, and it's 2-position. Because back then, it wasn't an adjustable stock, it was just a collapsing. You know, you weren't expected to find where you wanted and keep it there. This was for when you needed it short, and that's for when you were shooting it. That's all they ever planned on. That changed with sometime in the 90s whenever SOP mod first came out, I do believe. But everything internal is the exact same as any AR you'll find. It's pretty fine build quality. I did get a blim, so if you don't, you know, your results may vary. But if you can see it, there is a difference between these two shades of gray. And I guess that's why this was a blim, because there's nothing else really wrong with this one. But it is the Colt gray, unlike the black that you see here. So there is definitely a difference. You can really tell with the bolt out, because the bolt is black and then all that's gray. And whenever the light hits it, it turns really gray. But overall, it's just a very, very good looking and very functional rifle. There's everything you need on it and really nothing that you don't. There are options. You can have mounted things up here with that hole. You can change out the handguard like normal and add whatever you do need. But this overall is a very good representation of, you know, the Car 15s and the XM177s and the GAU 5s and everything like that that people were using back then. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and shoot the carbine. I've got 20 round mag, and this is the Colt mag. So let's load it up just like a normal AR. There we go. Extend the buttstock and get shooting. There we go. Bolt locks back, and then we can just take the mag out and drop the bolt like a normal AR.